Hey, sonographers, grab a seat and a cup of coffee. Welcome to Ultrasound Business School. I'm your host, Jennifer Lindsay. This is Talking Tech, a sonographer's guide to entrepreneurship. We are back with part 2 of 20 insights over the last 20 years in business. I still can't believe we are celebrating this huge milestone. And it's so fun celebrating these milestones with our clients as well. We've got one that I was just talking to the other day, Peyton. He's been on the podcast a couple times now. He is celebrating 10 years in business. So just so fun looking back over the last 20 years, realizing the trials we've been through, the struggles we've been through, all of the things that we've overcome, the mindset shifts that we have had. And I am just such a true believer that we should persevere to be the very best version of ourselves and share that with others, right? So if I can give you even one of these insights that helps you in your business startup, in your current business that you have, it just means the world to me. So we are now on 11 through 20 of 20 insights over the last 20 years. I think one of the most important things that I have learned is leading with service. We have such an opportunity to serve our market, to serve our patients, to serve our physicians, to serve, any of the types of ideal clients that we are working with. After the last 20 years, we've built our business to multiple different divisions. We have students as our clients, right? We have sonographer business owners as clients, people who are purchasing ultrasound equipment, right? The list goes on. And so for us, service always comes first. And I think this is so important as a mindset shift from where's my next dollar coming from, right? Of course, and I say this all the time when I talk about this, we have to pay attention to revenue, right? I'm going to talk about data here as one of my points today. Data and revenue generation and understanding our numbers and all of that is very important, right? We are a business. We have bills to pay, right? We have a lot of times employees that depend on us for their living. So revenue is important. However, if you are a person who is after chasing the dollar, right, you are not going to get as far and you're not going to have as many happy clients as you will if you chase the service side, right? We have such an opportunity to provide a service inside our communities that they literally cannot get anywhere else, right? I know a lot of times we think about the fact that, we've got these big hospitals kind of that we're competing against. But honestly, as a small business owner, this is one of the things that is so incredible is that we get to decide what our patient experience is, right? And so understanding that if we lead with service, the other stuff will always follow. The other stuff will always follow. The revenue, the business growth, all of those things will follow if we pay attention to our data, right? But we also lead with providing the absolute best service possible in all ways, right? The services that we're providing, the way we provide those services, the way that we're following up with people. We have such an incredible opportunity to serve. And so if we lead with that, if we lead with service, we will get so much further than if we lead by chasing the dollar in our business. All right, insight number 12 is figure out what your God-given talents are, right? And use them. I absolutely love the saying, God's gift to you is your talent, and your gift to God is using those talents, right? To benefit others. Pursue your purpose and you will be blessed. I know this sounds so silly, probably to a lot of people. And a lot of you, I think, will resonate with this so much, though, too, because I think one of the things that we need to realize in life is that we are all given such incredible talents. And some of the things that we were meant to do, some of the purpose that we have in our life depends on us getting uncomfortable to pursue that highest level of the talent that we actually have. Right. So, as an example, I think one of my talents, one of my God given talents is teaching and inspiring, right? And guiding others. That's something that lights me up every single day. It's something that I love to do so much. And I feel like that is my purpose. That is my purpose in life, is to help as many people as I possibly can with the gifts that I have been given. Over the last 20 years, the amount of knowledge that is in my brain right now to help people start, operate, and grow businesses is huge. I have so much to give. And I think that that is one of the absolute biggest purposes in my life, is to share that with as many people as possible. Now, what becomes uncomfortable is when you realize that specific gift, to reach as many people as possible, well, that means I have to get out of my comfort zone and be as visible as possible, right? I was just mentioning this a little while ago, and I hope it's okay to say this already, but I am going to be speaking at the upcoming SDMS annual conference. And that is completely outside my comfort zone, right? That is outside of my comfort zone. I know, though, to meet with and be visible to enough people to be able to be a small part and a small touch in their lives to help them become motivated and give them the knowledge they need to fulfill their dream and their purpose. I have to be in front of a lot of people to be able to do that. So my gift lights me up. Absolutely. Stepping out of my comfort zone to use my gift to the fullest is uncomfortable. But I'm telling you what, after 20 years in business, one of the things that I have learned is we need to be pushing that comfort zone every single day. Every single day. I think it was an Eleanor Roosevelt quote that said something like, do one thing every day that scares you. And it's so true. The more that we get out of our comfort zone, the more we grow. We never grow inside our comfort zone. Okay, number 13, stop doing all the things. Stop doing all the things. Now, when we're in the beginning of our business, we are all the things. We are everything, right? We are the stenographer, we're the marketing person, we're the salesperson, we are the operations person, we're the janitor person, we're all of the things in our business initially. You need to, as quickly as you can, start hiring in some people to take the things off your plate that absolutely drain your energy and aren't in your what they call zone of genius, right? So we all have those things that just light us up, that we love, right? So for me, it's coaching my clients, it's teaching, it's doing these podcasts, it's doing our trainings, it is getting the information out to the people that need it the most. It is guiding people, it's watching our clients grow, it's watching them get their first accounts, it's watching them hit 7 figures in their business. Like, these are so incredible, and it is what gives me so much joy every single day. And that's the place that I need to be, right? And that's the place that only Jennifer can be, right? So in our business, there are certain things that only you can do. And you need to figure out what those things are and start. Now, this is a big process, right? Start taking those things off of your plate and start with the more admin things that you absolutely hate to do. There's certain admin things that every time, they come up on my task list, I'm like, ugh, this again, right? Those are the first things I'm giving to my assistant or to my business manager, right? And it's hard to do that a lot of times. It was a very big transition for me, to take things off of my plate, because as a type A personality and a perfectionist to a fault, these are my character flaws, right? The mindset that two things, right? Either someone else is not going to be able to do it as good as me, and I'm going to have to take the time that I don't have already, right? I'm already slammed. I already have so many things on my plate. I'm going to have to take the time to teach someone how to do the thing that I don't want to be doing anymore. And so then you just never get it off your plate. And then you are like so many sonographers that I speak with who currently have a business that are absolutely burnt out. They can't add any more clients to their plate, right? They can't market for any more new clients. They can't spend time with their family. They can't take vacation. Don't get yourself into that mess. There are so many ways to offboard some of these things. And one of my favorite things to do is when I'm doing the task that I know I'm going to end up offboarding, right? A lot of times, if there's something new in our business that we're doing or a new software we're using or something like that, and I want to try it out first to see how does this work within our processes, as an example, right? I will do the thing first. And when I figure out how to do it, I will then record myself doing that thing. I'm already doing it anyway, so I'm not spending any extra time. And now I have a how-to video for my staff to be able to utilize to do that thing that I'm going to be offboarding off of my plate. And so that is one of the easiest ways without spending extra time because you're doing it already anyway, right? So for these admin tasks that are so easy just to hit record on something like Loom, right? That's the platform that we use. I love Loom. And my staff will use it too if they're like, hey, Jennifer, I wanted to show you this, and the other on something that they're working on. Loom is a really cool platform, just as a like side note there. But it's great because you can, I think they've got a free version, and you can just, as you are going, especially when you're starting out, I think creating those like SOPs, standard operating procedures, is so important when you're first starting, because then you can easily offboard those to someone else because you already have those how-to kind of videos set up and ready to go, right? So getting things off of your plate as soon as you possibly can. I've been talking about the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell a bunch. I just read it, just finished it a few weeks ago. It is so good. And he talks a ton in there about when you hire people, thinking about it not as hiring them for the business, hiring them to buy back your time to be able to then use that time for something else to continue to grow your business, right? And it's such an ingenious concept. And that's exactly what you're doing. If you no longer have to check that all of your images sent properly, made sure all the reports got back to your physicians properly, answered your customer service email and phone. I mean, how much time, if you are a current business owner that's doing that on your own, how much time would that buy back from you? And looking at it from a perspective that you can hire an assistant to be able to do that and be able to start offboarding some of those things that are just taking you a lot of time, but aren't your zone of genius, right? They're not making you money and they are not lighting you up, right? It is something we could pay someone to be able to provide those services. They're important, of course, to our practice, and we want to make sure that all of those things are done, but it's not needing to be done by you specifically. And honestly, at the end of the day, what I have learned is that 99.9% of the time, my staff does it way better than I would have done it anyway. Like, who am I to say nobody can do it as good as me? Because I'm telling you what, most of the time, they actually end up doing it better. All right, number 14, this is an important one. I think I talked about this on my live last week on Instagram, but filling your own cup. And I know they're like, everybody's talking about self-care these days and all of these things. And it can kind of, I think there's so many philosophies behind it. But at the end of the day, I am here to tell you, if you are burnt out and you are not taking care of yourself, you are not showing up the way you need to show up for yourself, for your business, for your employees, for your family, for your friends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I know that is true for me. And so when I figure out that there are multiple core areas of life and you create whatever these core areas are for you, mine are business, home, social, physical, mental, and spiritual. Business, home, social, physical, mental, and spiritual. And pretty much everything in my life falls within one of those buckets, right? So I've got a business bucket. Everything business falls into that.
But if I am 80% business and the other 20% is trickled in on all the other places, that means I'm not doing a great job at home, right? As a mom, as a wife, taking care of my house, right? That means that I am not in a good mental space because I'm not taking care of, having some time to relax. And I love journaling in the morning. It's one of my favorite things to do, right? It's such a good, I combine kind of my spiritual and mental time in the morning. I read my Bible. I usually read some type of, business book or something like that. I journal. That is a time that I am so creative, and a lot of times the thoughts that I'm like, oh man, I've been trying to figure out how to pivot XYZ in our business to make this thing more efficient. I Those are the times, a lot of times, that I come up with those ideas, or when I'm out on a run, right? That is in the physical space. So if I'm 80% business and the other 20% is trickled all over those other little spaces, I am not in alignment and I'm not going to feel good, right? And so we have to understand that there are so many aspects and phases, spaces into our lives, and that we really need to focus on each of those. And so I love the idea of grading yourself each week, right? So, like sitting down on a Monday morning or a Sunday evening, and saying, okay, how did I do this past week in my whatever yours are? Mine are like the six kind of core areas. How did I do? Man, last week, well, I was mentioning this on my live a couple weeks ago. I didn't eat lunch. Jennifer, like, what is wrong with you? I was so busy. I had jam packed, which I should not have done. I should know better than this. Jam packed my schedule because so many people needed certain things, right? And instead of saying, absolutely, I can get that to you on X date, I just shoved it all in my schedule and said, oh, I can do this, get all this stuff done like a crazy person. And then I didn't eat lunch like the whole week. I grabbed like one of those, I love those epic chicken sriracha bars. So good. That has 100 calories. Like that's not going to tide me over for more than, an hour. But I grabbed that and a glass of water, and that was my week. Unacceptable. So when I graded myself, I said, okay, the physical, Jen, you are getting an F in this week. Unacceptable. And so I made sure that my calendar for that next week had slots scheduled out for lunch. This was last week. And so I made sure I had at least a half an hour scheduled out for lunch, and I went away from my desk. A lot of times I'll eat at my desk as I'm like looking at some other things, or listening to a podcast or whatever. I didn't let myself do any of that. I sat at my kitchen table because I work from my home office, sat at my kitchen table and relaxed and ate lunch, and it was absolutely glorious. Right? But if I hadn't have done that, right, that particular week, and said, "How did I do last week?" and said, "You did terrible in this specific area," I wouldn't have been able to quickly pick it up. Last week I felt so much better because by the end of the day, I've got blood sugar issues and metabolic issues, and I'm a hot mess sometimes. I should know better than to skip lunch. So by the end of the day, right, when I go to pick my son up from school, I am not the best mom. I'm not the best wife. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do anything. I just want to relax, right? And that's not okay because I'm showing up then 100% for the day for my business, and then I can't hardly function in the evening when I don't eat lunch. And I know this about myself, and I did it anyway, right? So quickly being able to bounce back from those kind of things is really, really important. That's why I love that idea of like grading yourself each week on whatever your core like values are for your life is just so important, and it just keeps you from getting burnt out. It keeps you um kind of zen in all the areas, right? And there are going to be some hustle times. Like there are some hustle times in our business, like the last couple workshops that we've done. That is a lot of work on the back end for myself and our team, and I just know those are going to be hustle. And the other like business is going to probably be about an 80%. But everybody knows that. They know what's on my schedule for that week, and they understand, hey, mom's going to need a little bit more chill time in the evening because she's been super busy, right? So, knowing that there are times of hustle in different areas of our lives, right? I did a mini marathon years and years ago. So, my physical, right, core value of my life, I was spending more time there than usual because I was training for a mini marathon. That's a whole podcast in and of itself about me running a mini marathon, guys. But that's for another day. Maybe that'll be my next podcast because it's a really good story. And I can always apply stuff to business, right? Like a lot of things that happen in my life, I can always like turn it around back to like a business lesson. I love it. Okay, number 15, work it until it works. Work it until it works. The lesson here is that failure is inevitable. Failure is inevitable. It is the old saying, like, if you fall off the horse, you got to get right back on, right? Can you tell that I'm from Indiana? Every single like overnight success that you see out there, right, is someone's like level 10. You don't see all the struggles and the failures and the bad decisions and all the things that happen to you on your journey to what someone just sees on social media and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I could never get there." Right? And that's why I try and I need to do even more of this, sharing a lot of the struggles and failures and those kind of things along the way because I never want someone to look at what we talk about now or business with the, success that it has currently, all of the different divisions that we've been able to build, blah blah blah, all those things. I never want someone to look at that and say, "I could never get there." That looks like it's too difficult or that person is lucky. 100% not luck, I'll tell you that for free. I mean, it is hard work. It is multiple failure times, moments, bumps, right, where you're like, "Oh my gosh, did I get myself into something over my head?" Right? And then understanding, nope, work it until it works. I had the mindset that I am not going to let this fail. I am willing to pivot, right? I'm willing to say, "Okay, I thought my business was going to look XYZ way, and now it needs to look ABC way," right? I need to move this, I need to do that, right? And I think when you look at failures as instead of a failure, I really hate that word to be honest with you, because in business, really what it is a stepping stone to a building your character, right? Learning from that failure, mistake, situation, right? A lot of times the situations that we get ourselves into in business, we'd consider like a failure only because we didn't know how to deal with that situation at the time. But the huge like lesson and outcome of that is then saying, okay, being able to look at it and say, what went wrong? How could I have fixed that? Or if it's not even something you could have fixed, what outcome would have been better if I had done something different? And what is that different thing? So that when that type of situation comes up again, you are now reacting to it differently in mindset, in actions. You know, that is really the true that definition of learning from something is getting into that same situation or type of situation again, being able to do something different that creates a different outcome. And so understanding that there are going to be failures, the road to success is paved in them. Absolutely. And just understanding that each thing that comes along that seems like a big problem or a big issue or something that didn't work out the way that you wanted it to, right? We can kind of define all of those things as failures. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm using air quotes right now. But at the end of the day, those things are inevitable. They're going to come our way. And as the business owner, this happens to every single business. So when you're a staff sonographer, you don't see all the issues that happen because that's not in your job description to see. You're not the hospital administrator, you're not the CEO of the hospital. Can you imagine all the fires they are putting out every single day for a big, conglomerate corporation like that? It's got to be crazy. We get all the brunt of all of those things when we're the business owner. However, on the flip side of that, there is nothing that creates more freedom and that's freedom, time freedom, you know, monetary freedom, so many different things than owning your own business and being in the driver's seat. It is exponentially worth it. Worth every single tear. Worth every single hardship. Worth all the things that you think are just going to be the end of the world they're never the end of the world. They really aren't. Okay. So work it until it works. Number 16 is you are not to anything to be a business owner. When we first started our business 20 years ago, I was 24. And if I had a dollar for everyone who told me, you are too young, you don't know enough, you're too naive, I mean, I wouldn't have had to start a business because I'd have like a bajillion dollars and I wouldn't have needed to start anything. I could have just quit my job and lived a merry old life, right? It is insane to me when you think about this, and this will happen. This will happen as you start climbing the ladder of success, whether, I mean, anywhere in life, right? When you start up leveling yourself, it doesn't matter in what, right? It doesn't matter if you up level yourself in business, in fitness, right? I mean, I can name off a thousand other things. When you are working to personally develop yourself into a better, more incredible version of you, right? Which I truly believe we all should be doing. So many people are so stagnant, right? And they're the person at, 25 that they end up being at 65, right? They don't grow. They're making the same mistakes. They're doing the same thing, right? And if that's okay with them, that's okay. But personally, I think we should always be working on being the best, most incredible, most joyful, happiest, you know, healthiest version of ourselves and showing that version to the world to hopefully inspire and uplift others. Right. And so if we are doing that, a lot of times people around us don't like when we start going up and they are staying the same. Right. And so even subconsciously, because it doesn't have to be like a mean thing, right? Where they're intentionally being mean to you. It could simply be a subconscious thing like, oh gosh, I mean, I've always thought about having my own business and now she's doing that. I mean, I would never actually do it because I'm so nervous about it, right? I'm certain that there's a lot of people that that was like their subconscious mindset when I was talking about what we were planning on doing and getting ready to start up. And so you have to understand that people's negativity has nothing to do with you. And you really need to separate yourself from that as much as possible, right? So I'm not saying cut people out of your out of your life. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying if you have like that one friend or that one family member that every time you talk about your dream or goal, they're like, well, I don't know about that. It's not such a great idea. What if this happens? What if that happens? Then that's probably not a person that you should chat about your dreams. Find your tribe of people who are going to like cheer you on no matter what, right? I have a close group of friends that are like that for me, and I could like start crying talking about it because they are so amazing. And it doesn't matter what I do, good or bad, they love me so much just the way that I am. And that is so incredible. And they cheer for me through every incredible milestone in our business, in my life. They cheer for me when things are not going well, right? They're there as a shoulder to cry on. So find those people, and those are the people that you share those big dreams and goals with, right? So this really kind of I've kind of done two of my tips, 16 and 17, because 17 was don't listen to the negativity, right? And honestly, this goes for yourself because our brains try to keep us safe. And I'm using safe in quotation marks again too. I'm sure it's like an evolutionary thing, right? We have that fight or flight response. And so when something is uncomfortable, a lot of times our brain perceives it as dangerous. It's dangerous to start a business. It's risky business, right? And so we end up not doing the things that could exponentially increase so many areas of our lives, right? Our freedom in both time, in revenue, in just building our own personal development. I mean, there is nothing that builds your character like being in business for yourself, getting uncomfortable on a regular basis and realizing, oh, I could do that, right? I was hoping I could, right? But I actually did it. And knowing that you can continue on with that is just, it's like nothing else, really. And so our brains a lot of times try to keep us safe, AKA comfortable, and growth doesn't happen inside our comfort zone. You never hear someone say, I cannot believe like how much I grew over the last year. It was the easiest year of my life. Right? Am I right? You hear people say, I cannot believe how much I grew. Last year was the hardest year of my life. I think back to when I got my cancer diagnosis. And that was, I mean, the thing that you just don't wish on your worst enemy, to have that news come from a doctor to you. And thinking, oh my gosh, I think I was 26 at the time. Our business was like 2 years old. Right? We have this new business. I have cancer. I'm going to have radiation. So they're telling me, you're not allowed to get pregnant for X number of years, or we don't know what's going to happen. Right? That's scary. So, I mean, just all of these like monumental things coming down on me. And I grew so much out of that experience through all the things that I had to deal with. Right. And realizing how important your health is to you. I mean, I go off on so many tangents on these podcasts, guys. I hope you enjoy it. But I mean, just thinking about the fact that, like, in our teens and 20s, I feel like we feel invincible, right? Like, being 44 sounds like ages away, ages, right? And it literally is like the blink of an eye. 20 years ago is the blink of an eye, and a million years all at the same time, right? But it's so true. Like we feel just immortal almost sometimes when we're young, and having that kind of scare, and then all the things that come with it, and the doctor's visits, and the, oh, here's some more bad news, Jen. Oh, here's some good news. Oh, more bad news. Oh, great news, right? Like the back and forth with that is like mentally exhausting, but you come out of that like grateful for so many things. And that's really like the turn for me for like, paying attention to my health, and paying attention to, the people that I love around me and all of that. And it's been oh man, I could have like 40 personal podcasts on like, the up levels and the down levels, right? Like, I mean, life is about peaks and valleys for sure. And I've learned so much over the last, almost 20 years since that's happened. But man, just really understanding that that there's so much in our lives that create that next level person, and we don't get there by taking the easy road. Okay, I'll stop my tangent there. Anyway, number 18. And I'm kind of jumbling all these together because this one is surround yourself with people who lift you up. Um, I just can't express enough how important it is to have that just like inner circle. And it is so incredible because I hear this from clients as well, that the same thing has happened to them. I hear this from other business owners that I talk to, right? And so it's making sure that, not that we're, necessarily cutting people out of our lives at all. It's just we are protective of who we talk to about certain things, right? If we know someone's going to have a negative input on us starting a business or scaling our business, or those types of things, then that's just not a person that we speak to about that particular topic. And so just understanding that it's a lonely business out there being an entrepreneur, that's for sure. And it's why I love our coaching division so much. We have so much fun over in our group chat. We were just, oh my gosh, back and forth about 1,000 things. It was like Wednesday or Thursday last week in our group chat, because we have a couple clients that are going through getting like their first account, and like, same kind of thing I was just talking about. Like, oh, this awesome thing happened. Oh my gosh. Okay, this screwed up. Now, how do we fix that? Oh, and then this other great thing happened. And then, oh no, Jennifer, how do I handle this? Because this is what's going on. Right. And so we were talking about in the chat that it's so awesome that they have other people that are going through the exact same thing as them, because having a business in the sonography space is such a niche. Like it's rare you're going to find that. You know what I mean? And so to have that kind of community is just so incredible. And so I challenge you to find that inner circle that is going to uplift you, walk with you along the way, be there to cheer you on with the incredible things that happen, be there as a shoulder to cry on when you need it as well, because life always has its ups and downs, and so does business. Number 19 is that business takes faith, and whatever that looks like to you, right? Faith can be a ton of different things. For me, that is just my belief that God has a plan and a vision for me, and for me to be able to walk into that is 100% faith. I think that in whatever that your belief system is there, having faith is so crucial, because it's like investing in the stock market, right? We can do all kinds of research and things like that in like the types of businesses we want to invest in, or mutual funds, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But we have to give our money first in faith before we actually see it grow, right? And there's some down years, right? When the market does not do well, I don't like to look at my portfolio, right? When the market does great, that's super exciting. But I'm doing that in faith, right? Because I have to put something somewhere before I actually see it, right? So I'm putting faith in something before I actually see the results. And business is the exact same way. And sometimes that's really hard because, sometimes we know here's the path we need to take, and we just know we got to do the reps, right? Before we see the results. And so business takes faith, whatever that looks like to you, it's going to take faith. It's going to take you taking a leap, waiting it out before you actually see the results. Okay. And then number 20, be religious at looking at your data. Sometimes we are so busy working in our business as we get going, especially, we don't work on the business. And so looking at like what my numbers were last month, I may feel like I don't have time for that because I'm scanning and marketing and, getting reports to here, and so didn't get their reports, and now I got to check on that, right? So we can be running around like a chicken with their head cut off. Again, you tell I'm from the Midwest, but we can. And so sometimes we forget that we really need to look at the data, because that part can slip by. And so we need to have, even if it's once a month, I suggest looking at like marketing trends and all kinds of things at least once a week, right? As an example, we have a 5-step sales process that we teach our Ultrasound Business Academy clients that are working in the mobile ultrasound space, right? And so as they're going through that sales funnel, those 5 steps, they need to be looking at their data, right? So if they put 100 people in step 1, right? And they are getting like really good percentages, like conversion rates, all the way down, let's say, to step 3, and then the conversion rate drops dramatically. Well, now we know there's a problem with step 3, right? Step 1 and 2 are fine. Step 3, let's do a little tweaking. We would not know that. We could just say the sales process isn't. Well, that particular part needs some tweaking. Let's see what that tweak needs to be. And so you won't know that unless you take care of your data. And sales data is just one example. There's lots of data to pay attention to in your business. But those are the last of the 20 insights over 20 years. I have about 400 more. But I hope that this was at least one of them insightful, gave you a, kind of a better view of what this could potentially look like for you as you grow your business. And, I wish for you 20 years in business for yourself so that you can come and share that with others, right? Let's be that best version of ourselves so that we can share with others and, continue to shine our light.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed the information, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and help us reach other sonographers by leaving us a review. We truly appreciate it. And until next time, I'm over here cheering you on.